And so we begin ordinary time, those long Sundays between Christmas and Lent and after Easter time until the next Advent. Ordinary time, it's called. It's a terrible translation because ordinary for us English-speaking people means just plain, not important, just ordinary. It really is a bad translation of the Latin, which means week after week in order. First week, second week, third week, fourth week. But at any rate, it's called ordinary time, and it's also a time for us Christians to face the truth of who we are. And it always starts off with the baptism of Jesus, because all of us have been baptized into Christ, into his life. His life continues in the world through us. No longer visible in human form in Palestine, but visible all over the world in the disciples whom he has called to be a part of his body, as St. Paul calls it, his body, the church. And John the Baptist tells us that Jesus is the Lamb of God. A lamb in the Old Testament language was an animal that was destined to be sacrificed in the temple, to give up his life in an act of worship. And the baptism of Jesus directed him in exactly the same direction, as we know from what happened to him for the sake of the world. We are baptized into Christ for the same reason, that we will continue in the world what Jesus continued to do in the world, no matter what the cost. To carry the mission of Jesus, who revealed to the world the merciful love of his Father, to keep that going in the world so people come to understand what God is really like and to respond appropriately. But we're called to do that just as Jesus was, no matter what the cost. And so he calls us not just to verbalize his teachings, but to imitate his life, a life of service for others, forgetting self, giving one's life, if necessary, for the well-being of others. And so on this first weekend, when we celebrate the first Sunday in ordinary time, that we'll go through all through the year, we need to remember what we're about. We have to face the truth of our calling, that we are called to be Christ in this world today, no matter what the cost.